The Florida Panthers need to get back to playing, well, Florida Panthers hockey. Out of the whole team, I would say just two guys had great games. I'll tell you who they were in just a second. And uncharacteristically of this Cats team, their defense didn't look as stingy as it normally does. And they weren't dishing out big hits, they were receiving them. The Oilers took out a page in the Panthers playbook. That's a lot of P's. And so the Panthers need to get back to doing what they do, which is what the Oilers did. And the Panthers got to do what they did in game number one. You guys know what I mean. But the Panthers just have to play Panthers hockey tonight. They need to be physical. They've got to come out of the gates on fire, red hot, ready to just tackle this team any chance they can and fight them, get on that forecheck, and start getting in their heads. There were guys on this team that just simply disappeared late in this game. Guys, thank you for joining me on this episode of Panthers Digest. I'm your host, Greg Andrews. Hit that subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date with anything and everything that has to do with your defending Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers. So as I just said, the bright spot from game number one was this man, Sam Bennett. 11 road goals so far in this playoffs, and that ties the NHL record. He has 12 goals in total, which is the most for the franchise. So he has been the bright spot on this team so far, but Bobrovsky is as well. Even though they did lose game number one, Bobrovsky still had an outstanding game. He kept this team alive, and I hate to say it, this series is going to really hinge on how he plays. The biggest factor, though, was the other guys on the ice that just seemed to fade away as the game went on. Guys like Barkov. I know Tkachuk was out there and he had a couple of big hits, but he seemed to disappear too. You didn't see him flying all over the place, putting his hand in guys' faces, talking up a storm. It wasn't like that. It was very uncharacteristic of this team on so many different levels. The defense really needs to step up tonight. And I think that time on ice for a lot of the players took its toll. And that is why this team lost. But there's other factors. Obviously, it's not just one thing. It's usually several things that happen in the game that causes a team to lose, like letting off the gas, as this team did. This is what needs to change. The Panthers defense, I just said it, they need to step up. It's not just the three in the picture I showed you. Jones is in there. So Jones, Forsling, Ekblad, those big three, they have to do a little bit more. But so does Mikkola. I looked at his numbers for time on ice. He could have been on there a lot more than those big three. He could have helped out a little bit more, and I think Paul Maurice probably could have had him in the game more, had Jones rest a little more. I mean, Ekblad, like I said, was out there for so much playing time. He just looked like a shell of a person at the end of that game. He was gassed. But we have to hold the Oilers to under like 35, 30 shots if we're going to have a chance to win a game in this series. I think 46 shots, I think was the second most or most for the Oilers since like 1987 or something like that, or 19, I can't remember what it was. I saw the stat earlier. I forgot the exact dates, but that was like the first or second most shots they've had in a game since the 80s. That's crazy. This team needs to get back on their game. And they just looked like a shell of a team after that second period. They got to step up tonight. They've got to come out of the gates, hitting this team as hard as they can, forechecking aggressively. Their defense really needs to step up. That's going to be the name of this game. The faceoff percentages are there. They're being physical, but they've got to be more physical. It just wasn't there in game number one. And for all you guys who are already, claiming Edmonton's going to win the whole thing and they're going to sweep them, all this stuff, don't be so, come on, be realistic here. It wasn't a 5-0 game the Oilers won. It was a 1-goal game that literally went to 31 seconds left in overtime, and the Panthers committed a penalty, and we'll talk about that in a second because there are some controversies surrounding some of the things that happened and didn't happen in that game number one. So let's keep moving on, guys. Those big hits have to stop, man. We were just getting lit up left and right by this team because they were trying to send a message to the Panthers. We are not going to be pushed around in game number one, not in our own arena. That is not going to happen tonight. I think the tide's going to turn tonight. I know the Oilers are really deep, and Tkachuk has said it. Some of the other guys on the Florida Panthers have said, hey, this is not the same team that we faced last year. They're deeper than they were last year. Every single one of their lines can come out here and they can play and they could take it to us. And we have to respect that. We've got to get out here and we've got to do a better job of covering up the best players and getting in their heads and throwing them off their game. That's by being physical. That's by face washing. That's by talking a bit. I like that Marchand was running into guys. That's the kind of stuff they need to do, but it can't just be one guy. Everybody has to step up to the plate today. Tonight, I told everybody, tonight's game, even though the Oilers won game number 1, tonight I think is the game that really sets the tone for the rest of this series. If the Panthers do win, I'm not going to call anything yet because, again, it's only 2 games in. I'm not going to crown them. I'm not going to say they're going to lose. I'm not going to say either or for the Oilers because it's just too early. The Panthers lost the first 2 games against Toronto, and they came back and won that series. I'm not going to say, again, I'm not comparing Toronto to the Oilers like some of you said, oh, you can't compare the two. Yes, you can. They're not identical. The Oilers are definitely the better team by far, but there are similarities. There's the speed. There's certain lines that stick out above the other ones. There are similarities to the teams. Yes, there are. But yes, the Oilers are clearly the better team. But I do hate the fact that 72% of the teams that win game 1 in the Stanley Cup Finals usually go on to win the series. And yes, the odds are in favor of, for the betting lines, are in favor of the Oilers as of now. It's gone up more and the Panthers went down a little bit. And they're favored to win the series. But don't discount this team. The Panthers are better than they were last year, just like the Oilers are. I said Coach Paul Maurice has a plan. He's going to make it work, guys. He's going to figure out what is it that made us lose the game. Where were those down dark spots that we just had voids in and wasn't working? He's going to find something to do tonight, and maybe it starts with the line matchups like he did and changed up in the second series against Toronto. But these are the guys I've highlighted here. I've underlined them and bracketed them. These are the guys that kind of went MIA in game number 1. Barkov, Lundell, Reinhart. Tkachuk was out there. Yes, I know he had the assist and he had a big hit or two, but he wasn't his normal self. A lot of these guys just kind of looked like a shell of themselves as the game had progressed. They disappeared towards the end of that game, that third period in the overtime, like I had stated. And then Ekblad, he looked rough around the edges. Forsling didn't look that great. I mean, Jones is still, man, he's a great player, but man, he was out there for so long. And he does have a few times in a game where he doesn't have the greatest passing ability. For some reason, it's like, I don't know what happens during a game. It's like 3 or 4 times he had these horrible passes. Usually he's great, but sometimes it happens. And then Nico Mikkola, I don't know why, if you look on here, 26 minutes of ice time. And then you had 3 other players that had 30 plus minutes. You put them out there for an extra minute and a half or 2 minutes. You even that out, ease some of that time on ice, some of that pain these guys are enduring, throw them out there. Same thing, Schmidt was not out there for that much at all, 17 minutes. And then Kulikov too. I mean, I don't understand what was happening. I know you're trying to give your team a better chance to win with your better guys on the ice, but there's the fatigue factor. We'll see if that changes tonight. And again, the forwards and centermen, I said this in the last video yesterday, that time on ice for them, it's just, how do you have 3 guys in single digits? I understand Gadjevich went out. He came back, though, and you're trying to set yourselves up for the best chance to win, putting your best players on the ice. But you sometimes have to make a decision and say, all right, we need to try to rest. But again, the Oilers were being as aggressive as the Panthers were, with Draisaitl and McDavid being on the ice for, I think it was nearly 30 minutes as well. So it's kind of a tit-for-tat thing, that cat and mouse game that they were playing. The coaches, this is going to be a great coaching matchup too. Really is. So we'll see how it goes. And these are the projected lineups. This is what I was saying. Are we going to see something sway a little bit where maybe that Lucian and Lundell Marchand line, you might see him with that Perry, McDavid, Nugent Hopkins line, or, something might shift there with, 1 versus 3, 2 versus 1, something like that for the lines. Maybe he'll mix it up a bit tonight. Maybe that's what the Panthers need, just like they did in the Toronto series, where it was that Marchand, Lundell, Lucian line that went up against that number 1 line for Toronto, and that kind of helped turn the series a little bit, and it helped the Panthers out a lot defensively. So we'll see what happens tonight. I don't want to speculate, but these are the lineups heading into this evening's game number 2. It's going to be exciting. And this is what I wanted to talk about, guys. One of the things that is kind of controversial, everybody's talking about goaltender interference. What happened with Bennett? Because there's a couple of controversies from this game. Here, it is goaltender interference if a player knowingly gets in there and is pushing or nudges or gets in the way of the goalie, interferes somehow, some way without another player touching them, a goal will be taken away. But it says if a player is knocked into the goaltender, a defenseman knocks an offensive player into the goaltender, or they trip over them, that goal is good. And that's exactly what happened on that play. People are like, even the analysts were like, well, I think he tripped. Even though it says that the player has to try to get out of the way of the goaltender, it was such a bang bang play. I wish I actually had the video here to show you. I've watched it. I couldn't find something to put on here, but I wanted to tell you guys, rewatch that video in real time and see how quick that play happens. See how quick Bennett is down and he gets tripped and goes down, and then that puck is in the back of the net. It's a split second. But these are the rules, guys. He was tripped. That's all you got to say. He was tripped. And I'll tell you this much too. There was a miscall. They replayed it on air on TNT. They replayed the shot where the Oilers clearly had 6 men on the ice. The guy wasn't even close to the bench. And the refs completely botched that call. They totally missed it. Totally missed it. And I couldn't believe my eyes when they showed it on live television. They were like, okay, we'll show you the replay. Look at that. I mean, come on. So I know a lot of Panthers fans are crying foul, but look, mistakes are going to happen. We'll see how it goes. And I don't want to hear, this is the one thing I don't want to hear from people saying, oh, Gary Bettman, this and that. Guys, this game of hockey, there is nothing that Gary Bettman's trying to set where the Canadian teams are not going to win again. Because guess what? If you guys win it this year, you got to shut your mouths. But game 1 is done. Game 2 is tonight. But I'm just telling you guys, I'm hearing people cry foul. We'll see, it's coming back to the Panthers now. That's why, blah, blah, blah. Get out of here with that crap, okay? That's not true. So, the other part of this too is the call at the end of the game where delay of game is a 2-minute penalty. The only reason why I'm talking about this now is because, in my opinion, and I'm not just doing this because it happened in game number 1 to the Panthers, and ultimately, that, I would say, is the reason why they lost the game for the most part. But I think having a delay of game call and you got to put a guy in the penalty box for 2 minutes, especially in big games like that, in those situations, it's too severe for what is actually happening on the ice. I read a great article today where the guy says, listen, if anything, you say, okay, you take a coach's challenge away, you take a timeout away or something like that, if it happens. And if they don't have anything for, 2 minutes, every single faceoff happens in that team's defensive zone. That's not a bad idea. I do think it's a little too severe because there's been too many times delay of game has been called, 2-minute penalty, and it has been such a deciding factor. Yes, I know it's the game of hockey, whatever, but I'm just saying, I've seen it in so many different games during the regular season and during this playoffs, and it's almost a little too aggressive to call a 2-minute penalty on that kind of a play. I think a lighter tone needs to be set. I think the NHL needs to kind of readdress this and say, listen, maybe in the regular season you do it, but in the NHL playoffs, no. There's so much at stake for these teams, and it's an ease. Like I said, you can hand the game over on a silver platter to teams if that happens. I do understand it's a game. It's part of the rules right now, but they should revisit it because it's a very, very severe thing that happens in a game, and it really did cost the Panthers the game in game number 1. You guys can't deny it as Oilers fans either. Yes, it's still a penalty. I get it. That's the rules now. But still, it's a big, big thing to talk about, guys. So getting back to another thing here that I just wanted to try to bring up here. So we have to dish out the hits tonight. We have to be more physical. We got to get in the heads of the Oilers' big players. If you're going to lose, don't have Connor McDavid and Draisaitl beat you. And that's exactly what happened in game number 1 for the most part. Those two guys beat you. Plain and simple. And Skinner. You guys have to find a way to beat Skinner. And the easiest way to do that for pretty much any goaltender, especially Skinner, you got to get him moving. You got to get him moving. The Marchand goal coming, obviously, a cross ice pass is going to more than likely hit the back of the net, and it did pretty easily. And then the great pass, I think it was Mikkola going to Mikkola to Bennett. Bennett was the goal scorer, I know that, and he put it into the upper corner, and they had Skinner moving. That's what they need to do. They can't just line it up and just do a slap shot from the blue line. They can't do a slap shot from the left circle. They have to really try to be passing the puck and get him moving left to right. Get the defense out of position. I know that's easier said than done because the Oilers defense played great in game number 1. Give credit where credit is due. They played great in game number 1 in terms of stepping up, fighting through adversity, and they played how the Panthers usually play. That's what I'm saying. The Panthers have to do what they used to do, which is what the Oilers did in game number 1, and they will win game number 2 tonight. And the other thing that I want to say is the game within the game that happened that we saw. What happens? The Oilers were getting in our heads. It threw us off our game. We got tired. We took our foot off the gas. But the one thing I think could be fuel to the fire for the Panthers moving forward to possibly come away with a game number 2 win tonight, and maybe it puts lights a flame under everybody's butt, and they'll start kicking the tires and lighting the fires and going through this series and win another Stanley Cup and get back-to-back wins. When you see guys like Wallman getting in the face of Nosek after he threw the puck out and laughing at him and screaming in his face. All right, you want to play that game, guys? I think the Panthers are going to be fired up after that. I think they're going to look back at that and they're going to be pissed. And I can't wait to see what happens tonight. So we're going to take a look at a quick graphic because I love this quote from Matthew Tkachuk. Because he's right. It's us against the 20-plus guys you're playing against, the 20,000 that are at the rink, the 20,000 that are outside the rink. It's just us against everybody. That's what makes playing on the road so fun and rewarding when you can get a win. And he loves it, and they love it when they shut the crowd up. It was quiet when it was 3-1. There were some good chants, but it was quiet when that third goal was scored. It got awfully quiet, and the Panthers love that. They live for that. That's why they are a great road team. I see them bouncing back tonight and having a very big game in a very big situation. And I think they're going to take control of the series tonight. And they're going to dictate everything the rest of the way. Am I going to say it's going to go 5 games? No. But I think they come away in another tight one tonight. I'm going to call it another 4-3 victory for the Cats. It's going to come down to the wire, though. I think it's going to come down like the last 5 minutes of the game. And that's when the Panthers are going to finally score and break a dead even tie at 3-3. But man, I love that us against the world because that's what it's looking like with all the analysts, all the other hockey fans. Everybody think McDavid, walks on water. He's the greatest player ever. Even Gretzky said he's the greatest player in hockey right now. Everybody's talking Oilers, Oilers, Oilers. Everybody's already crowning them. Don't be so quick. So, game 2 tonight, guys. It's going to be a big one. Get ready to go. But before we go, I've got one more thing to play for you guys that you're going to love. This is Matthew Tkachuk on whether everything that happened in game 1, do they have to worry about a mental thing? Or is this more about the technical aspect of the game? Here he is on that.
Yeah, I mean, we're a very mentally strong group, so I'd say more technical than mental. I mean, we've got a lot of battle scars on us from the last few years, and we've been through way worse than just that yesterday. We can adjust a few things and come out tomorrow and try to get a win, some momentum going back home.
So, yep. All they got to do is win tonight, and they're going to feel pretty good about coming back home. And I think that's where things get scary for the Oilers. If the Panthers were able to win tonight, even though their home record's not as good as their road record, but I think they come back to Amerant Bank Arena with a different mindset than they currently have. I don't think that they're going to come back. If they're down 0-2, I don't even think that it's going to be that bad for them because, again, even with the Toronto series, even though this team is so much better that they're facing, they have fought through adversity so many times, even throughout the regular season. They even did it last year, too. You know, every game that the Oilers won last year after they went down 0-3 and then it was 3-3, the Panthers, I think everybody down here, they still had confidence in the Panthers, but they were a little scared too. But this team fought through the adversity. They fought through the fact that the Oilers were the ones that were riding this wave of momentum, and they took it in game number 7, and I think they take it tonight. So guys, game number 2 tonight, 8 p.m. TNT. Don't miss it. This could be better than game number 1, guys. So get ready, get your beer, get your brats, get your whatever you're eating, guys. Get ready, sit on your couch. Thank you again for joining me today. And yeah, guys, subscribe, like, comment, share. Please be respectful of one another, like I always say. But thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and go Cats. Let's get them tonight, baby.